I am Caleb Fielding, and I have a question for you. Do you know how to get the most joy out of serving God? The statistics say that over 70% of young people leave church when they graduate high school. We know that there are a few single adults going to church. That said, one of the things I have seen, but I haven't heard talked about, is that when you have singles in church, generally 9 times out of 10 they're serving. If you're a single adult attending church, you are almost certainly serving in some capacity at that church because you have found the joy that comes with serving God. But there is a way to draw out more joy than you already have. When you are serving God, it's even more fun when you get others to serve God with you. When I was in Bible college, I preached in the jail, and I was always encouraging other guys to come down to the jail with me. One year we had a man attending Bible college who was an ex-Hell's Angel. One day he is delivering drugs on his motorcycle, and the next day God convicts him of his sins and saves him. God called him to preach. He comes to Bible college, and I invited him to the jail, and he came and he preached, and I still get a thrill out of that. I talked to Hell's Angel into going to jail. God is good. One year my pastor put me in charge of Vacation Bible School, and we had some members who had been in church all their life, but they never served. And I got to get them to serve for the first time ever. We had some teenagers who had never led anybody to Christ, who grew up in church, who knew the Romans road, but they did not know how to take the Romans road from the Bible and show someone how to be saved. I got to show them that. The Bible puts this joy this way in Hebrews 10:24. It says, "And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works." As disobedient as I have been with my relationship to church, the Lord has blessed me and allowed me to be obedient throughout my adult life in provoking other people to serve God. It has constantly been a source of joy for me. Every human has an inbuilt need to work. When God made Adam, God gave Adam the job of gardener. But then God said it wasn't good for man to be alone, and so God gave Adam Eve. But God didn't just give Adam Eve just so that Adam had someone to talk to. The Bible says that Eve was to be a helpmeet for Adam, which shows us that we have a relational need to serve God with other people. This is certainly a thought expounded on in the New Testament, where it describes the church as a body, where one member is a hand, another the foot, another the eye, and another the ear. When we work together, we can do so much more for God, so we have a relational need to work with other people as we serve God. It has been said many times that marriage is work. How can it not be when you have 2 people living together, then little children come along that need to be taken care of? Work is going to be a natural part of marriage. Many times when someone says marriage is work, they're implying that work is a bad thing, but God made humans to work from the beginning. It's part of our design. If someone is complaining about the work in their marriage and their family, they're complaining about a blessing. A part of the blessing is that you have this work to do, and in various ways you can provoke each other to get the work done. As Christians, we have this need to serve God that generally most Christian singles are already getting met. We have a more specific need to serve God with other Christians. And many times the way we get this need met is through provoking other Christians to serve God. Up to this point, we have started every lesson with how you are to take the initiative to do something first, but we cannot do that with this lesson, because if you're part of a church, then your pastor is already serving you. And in most churches, the pastor is not the only one serving. So before we deal with your responsibility, we're going to talk about how others in the local church are provoking you to good works. Generally speaking, those who serve in church do all they can. The things that they see need doing but don't have the time to do just doesn't get done. The pastor at church is the number one person doing all this. Talk with your pastor, and before long you will find out that the church needs Sunday school teachers, nursery workers, someone to mow the lawn or to vacuum, among a host of other things. Churches always have a ton of work to be done and never have enough people to get it done. Because pastors are the number one servants in the church, and Jesus made the point that the chiefest among us is servant of all in Mark 10:42-45. Pastors are very aware of what areas need the most help at this point in time, and are in a position to provoke people in church to good works because they are doing the most good works in the local church. Honestly, who is more likely to provoke you to good works? A pastor who works 60 hours a week and he comes out and he asks for help? Or that guy in church who complains about every problem but never does anything? You know, the guy in church who points out a piece of paper and says, man, someone needs to pick that up. Man, that guy irritates you. Honestly, someone who works is much more likely to provoke you to good works than someone who does nothing. In Acts 6, we find the early church it is growing and growing, and during the growing process, there were some growing pains which caused the Greek widows to be neglected. The apostles neglected the Greek widows because they honestly did not have enough time in the day to meet their needs. Because the Greek widows were neglected, people in the church started complaining. And the apostles told them that they did not have enough time to meet the needs of the widows because they had more important things to do. So what the apostles did was ask for volunteers to meet the widows' needs. When they found volunteers that met the requirements, they gave them the job and the complaining stopped, and the church started growing even more. I want to point out a few things about this story. Just because there was a need, no one was provoked to good works. Generally, when people see a need, they think someone else should solve the problem. When the people complained about the needs the widows had, no one was provoked to good works. People love to complain and gossip. Generally speaking, when a need is not being met in the local church, people would rather gossip about the problem than talk to the pastor about it. You would be shocked how often there is a legitimate need in your local church that the pastor doesn't know about because everyone forgot to tell the pastor. In Acts 6, the people complaining did not even provoke themselves to good work. You would be surprised how often people see a problem but will not be the solution to the problem, just because that's not how it's done. In Acts 6, these people were convinced it was the apostles' job to help the widows. So because it was the apostles' job, they did not step up. So often in our churches we see things as the pastor's job. So when we see a problem, we complain about the pastor instead of stepping up and solving the problem. But when the apostles, who were already working, provoked others to good works, people stepped up. In a lot of ways, this is a sad story. We had a ton of people see a problem, complain about the problem, get upset about the problem. Even though they had done nothing about the problem, they had the gall to get together and confront the apostles who were super busy. The reality of this situation is that there is a very real possibility that this was the first time the apostles had heard about the problem. The apostles' response to the problem was to provoke others to good works. They could not handle the problem because they were too busy. But because they were already serving, they had the opportunity to provoke others to good works. The reality is that in your local church, the only people who are going to provoke you to good works are the people already serving. It is human nature that when someone who is not serving sees a problem, they will complain about the people who are serving. But when the people who are serving sees a problem, they will provoke others to good works. When that happens, you have two options. You can continue to complain, or you can step up and serve. Will you allow those who serve in your local church provoke you to good works? Now, your response to your pastor's good works should be you going to your pastor and asking him where you can help. And since this is a series focused on singles, you've probably already done that. If you see a need in your church, your response should be to go to your pastor and ask how you can fill that need for him. Your pastor may be aware of the need, but doesn't have the time to deal with the problem. Once you are serving, you will find out rather quickly that there is only so much you can do. Jesus put it this way in Luke 10:2. Therefore said he unto them, the harvest truly is great, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest, that he would send forth laborers into his harvest. Generally, what happens is people serve in a couple different areas of their church that absolutely fall in love with their place of service. This is why people teach Sunday school class or play the piano or preach in the jail for 50 years. It isn't hard to find someone who has served the Lord in the same position for decades. Although these people serve for decades because they love what they do, they always find that there is only so much they can do. When someone who is serving finds that they need help, it puts them in a position to provoke others to good works. Maybe it's as simple as a Sunday school teacher asking a child in their class to hand out papers. Maybe someone is singing in the choir or playing an instrument, gets together with someone and works out a music special. Perhaps the man who preaches in the jail asks someone to help him because he cannot give the gospel to every prisoner because of time constraints. The reality is that serving puts you in a wonderful place to provoke others to good works. Sometimes you will be in charge of the children or teenagers and have the authority to ask your young people to help you directly. Sometimes you will be doing a good work for Christ and you will need to ask your pastor or other leaders about provoking others in the church to good works. But at the end of the day, you cannot ask help for your labor if you are not laboring. Are you qualified to provoke someone to good works? Or are you missing out on this joy? In conclusion, are you getting your spiritual need to provoke others to good works met? Are you qualified to get that need met? We are to follow our pastor's example and serve others and provoke others to serve. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please share it. If you didn't like it, leave a comment. The next lesson will be coming soon. Thank you for watching.